Outback was a little more forgiving. Outback didn't care if you spun the ball out your tail. If you, as he claimed to, because the reporters would say, "What do you know? What about Cousy? He's throwing it this way, that way," and he'd say, "My only criteria is the ball has to reach the target, and they've got to catch it and do, you know, if they can't catch, if he's too whatever, then he's going to hear from me," but that never happened. So Arnold was more practical, except, and Arnold wanted to win every bit as badly as I did, so it didn't take us long to bond when I got to the Celtics, but then the Celtics continued the evolution of basketball in New England and the country to the point where, what was it, when I graduated in 50. I remember I held out for $10,000 with the Boston Celtics. I eventually signed for $9,000. And 60 years later, anyway, and basketball was, I say in 57, I was the best player on the planet, but it was still in its infancy. And now it is the second most played sport in the world to soccer. And I'm pleased to say, since I started the Players Association in 53, so I was concerned about player movement and player salaries, that now a basketball superstar earns somewhere around $400 million. I can't relate to those numbers, but that's where the sport, this little Mickey Mouse sport, that at least in New England we started in a barn at Holy Cross, has grown. And the players, I don't recognize them. I don't, Jesus. They've grown, especially the big men. The big men have made giant strides athletically and in terms of the athleticism. God, they play the game now like small men do. They handle the ball well, and they have to. The game has progressed to that point. I got off that train at Worcester, Massachusetts, and took the kid. It opened up a whole new experience, and I've never been disappointed. When I was playing with the Celtics, I lived here for the 13 years, and then 30 years I was their commentator. I stayed here. I never moved. Everybody, what the hell's the matter with you? Because, kid, Route 9 was not the Mass Pike, you know. Route 9 on little heavy traffic days, but on bad pothole days, it would take 2 hours to get there. So I was perfectly willing to pay that price, especially after I became the man. And my daughters were 10 and 11. My oldest, Marie, went to Notre Dame Academy. And I wanted them to have as normal an upbringing. I didn't want them to be Bob Cousy's kids or something where they'd be under any pressure. And Worcester gave me that kind of privacy. Worcester, I still think to this day, is the ideal all-American city. They've won that distinction a few times. I did it, but I did it locally for Big Brothers or whoever. So I've paid my dues, but at my, my pace or whatever. So I would, boy, if I had it to do over, I'd do it in a millisecond. I'd recommend a city, a small, and Worcester's not as small, it's the second largest city in New England, right? A couple of 100,000, is it? I've never regretted choosing Holy Cross, obviously, but staying in Worcester once I did that.